sure some of you who are local will know him well. So who are we, what are we doing, and what are we doing here? Basically, this all started through a love of motorsport that we've had for many years, and more recently, a love of Bitcoin. In the UK, not many people have Bitcoin. I think it's only something like 10% of the population, and then at only relatively low denominations. So we had the idea of trying to support the coin through our racing platform, and we put Bitcoin racing on our cars. And the next significant thing that happened was that we found out that El Salvador had adopted Bitcoin as legal tender. A massive step, as I'm sure we all agree, incredibly important to Bitcoin, and pioneering, and we wondered what we could do to support that initiative. We approached the embassy in London and were granted permission to put the flag of El Salvador on the roof of our cars, and that's basically how it started. We were invited by the El Salvadoran ambassador to the UK, a wonderful lady called Vanessa Interiano. She's actually become a very good friend of the team. We were invited to the embassy. We had terrific support for our ideas, and we wanted to come to the country for ourselves and see what was happening here, see what it was like. She invited us over. We were very lucky to meet with a number of government departments. We met with the Ministry of Sport, Ministry of Tourism. We were well received wherever we went. And as I say, we wanted to discover what the country was like, to see it for ourselves. None of us had been to El Salvador before. And so what did we find? We found a very warm and friendly people. How many airports in the country can you go through where customs officers smile at you? That seems to happen here. The friendliness of the people, the beauty of the country, and most importantly, Bitcoin in operation as money. We went to El Zonte. We were able to buy pupusas with Satoshis. We bought 2 pizzas. That cost us 10,000 Bitcoin. We thought it was a little bit expensive at the time, but they were very tasty. And it's progressed from there. So I don't want to get confused with the slides, but you can see from that picture the way we decorated the cars. And we have this huge transporter. It's got Bitcoin Racing written on the side. It's got the flag of El Salvador on the side. We reckon we've done about 7,000 miles around the UK in our races this year. We've run this year in the City Car Cup, which is a fairly low level of motorsport, but you've got to start somewhere, and it's been a great platform for our young drivers. Car number 21, driven by my son Chris. Chris, stand up, take a bow. Fantastic. There are 40 cars running in this series. They've got about 70 horsepower. They're all fighting for the same piece of the circuit. And Chris has always run consistently at the front, always in the top 6. And he finished 5th in the championship, which I think is very good, considering he was actually punted off the circuit from 2nd place about 3 times and had a mechanical failure on 1. So that was great. But our plans, the impact that we can have depends upon the level of support. And bear in mind, we're preaching to the uninitiated here, to people who don't understand Bitcoin, don't understand El Salvador. We want to tell them about the country. There's so much negative press. This needs to change. We want people to understand what El Salvador is really all about. We've seen it firsthand for ourselves. We want them to know the truth about the country and the truth about money. So that's our plan, to use our racing platform to support El Salvador and Bitcoin. I mentioned before the ambassador, and there's some information here. as to the opportunities. I'm going to hand over to Charlie now, who has these figures at his fingertips. What do you want me to do? You do this.
Cool. Thank you for having us. So for next year, we'd like to progress to much higher level of racing, where we can actually be in a championship that has a huge audience, so we can promote the message to many more people. And we met this driver who's from El Salvador, and we were introduced to him by the ambassador in the UK. And he's just partaken in a reality TV opportunity, which hasn't launched yet, so it's under NDA, but he's soon to acquire celebrity status. And you can imagine influencers, when they tell people to buy things or even jump off a cliff, they'll do it, because that's how effective influencer marketing is. So he's expected to gain between 3 and 6 million followers, and that's why the country is so excited about having this race team, because not only will we be promoting the country through the cars, it will also be promoted through a Salvadorian driver who can become kind of a pride of the nation and someone for everyone to get behind. And obviously the opportunities to utilize him in influencer marketing to persuade people to start their education journey into Bitcoin or to even travel to this country, they're massive. So if we can move to the next one, thank you. We'd like to move up to a championship in the UK called the Toka Package, and it is by far the most prestigious championship in the UK, and we've selected the mini challenge because it'd be a very cost-effective championship for us. In terms of the audience it gets, if we just move to the next slide, please. This racing series, you might be thinking, why is a mini so popular? But it's because they always crash. That's why it gets loads of views. But this series is broadcasted on live TV, on ITV1, which is a primetime UTV television channel in the country. And it receives over 15.8 million TV viewers per year. And actually it's expected to increase because the championship has been upgraded to ITV1 for this 2023 championship. And then the spectators, over 400,000 spectators throughout the year who attend the races, and the championship also has 3 million, a reach of 3 million on social media. So already through the championship alone, disregarding the reach of the driver, we can reach 20 million people who are not yet involved in Bitcoin. And often what happens is if you attend Bitcoin conferences, everyone is a Bitcoiner. If you launch a Bitcoin book, mainly Bitcoiners will read it. But if you enter a Bitcoin car into a racing championship, you reach millions of people who are not yet involved into Bitcoin. And the other exciting thing about the championship is that the attendees, over 85% of them earn above $35,000 per year, so they have disposable income for investing and traveling. And if we move to the next one. So motorsport should be thought of as a massive advertising platform. And every year, between $4 and $6 billion is invested into motor racing by companies. In the NASCAR championship, for example, over 150 of the sponsors are Fortune 500 companies. And in the Toka package, a company invested over £4 million to support a team because they value the amount of brand awareness that they can receive, the increased brand perception, and essentially increasing their sales of products and services. So how can we specifically increase adoption of Bitcoin? First of all, obviously by reaching a huge audience and associating Bitcoin with the exciting attributes of motorsports, like innovation, excitement, high octane, rather than the negativity we see in media. And engaging with the huge number of spectators by handing out promotional materials with instructions on how to buy Bitcoin, what the advantages of it are. And we've also teamed up with a group in the UK called the Bitcoin Pioneers, and that group allows us to give £10 of Bitcoin to new people. There's no obligation with the £10 they receive, apart from an invitation to a webinar which discusses Bitcoin in an easy-to-understand way. And we can incentivize fans to attend these education webinars by offering them once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. So the chance to meet our celebrity driver, the chance to attend a webinar where he presents all the benefits of Bitcoin, Sorry, my mind's just gone blank there, for goodness sake. Yeah, and I think the most exciting part is obviously having an influencer on the team who isn't going to be promoting pointless things like tooth whitening kits, Balenciaga trainers. He'll be promoting something that is fundamentally important. And we think that could be massive. And the country is really going to get behind him and support him. And they already have supported our team. We've been retweeted by various government departments. We've got Herbert here, who is very close to President Bukele, and he's been supporting us. And I think lots of people here want to see this project happen. And if we move on to the next one. Thank you. So here is the mini challenge car in Bitcoin livery. I'm pleased to say that this will be on ITV1 next year, presenting Bitcoin to an audience of over 20 million fans. And the next one. So we can also focus on El Salvador as well. I think, Herbert, we should bring you in here, talk about what... Yeah.
Absolutely, Charlie. First of all, thank you for everyone that's here sharing your time with us. And I truly believe that most of you must be quite familiar with the situation El Salvador used to face in the past. El Salvador has always been a very beautiful country with great potential, but not until recent times has that potential been exploited the way it should be. Because in previous governments, the people were ignored for far too long. And now, thanks to the leadership of President Nayib Bukele and his great initiatives like the Bitcoin initiative, things are changing. There's been a historic turnaround in our nation that truly no one would have believed could happen 4 years ago even. Because as I've told you personally, and I'm going to tell everyone here, in the past 3 years, our nation has advanced what it couldn't in over 30, 40, in decades. Right now, El Salvador, I'd say, is going through an era of regeneration, of prosperity, and it's thanks to projects like Bitcoin racing that we're also moving forward, you know, because all this global interest to support El Salvador's vision to prosper is what's motivating us as a nation to continue down the right path. And I truly think that it's very important for not just Bitcoin racing, but whoever wants to pitch in and come and collaborate and support President Bukele's vision and El Salvador's vision to move forward, to come and do it. Don't believe the media, because the media is always going to have something negative to say about everyone, and that's something we all know. And truly, I believe that motorsports have been helping humanity throughout the decades with technological advancements, not only in the vehicle field, not only in the motorsports field, but also in something that people don't quite know is that also in the medical field, there's been advances thanks to motorsports. And bringing Bitcoin racing to El Salvador, installing workshops here so that the people can learn basic mechanics, learn more about culture, etc., would be great for our nation. And I truly think that it's an honor to have the Bitcoin racing team here in San Salvador with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So how can we increase tourism into the country then using the motorsport platform? And of course, we go back to this influencer again. And as someone who's been on a reality TV show of a certain type, he's going to have lots of fans, especially young ladies. And if he tells them, come and meet me in the country, and we can get hundreds of people to come and see their favorite celebrity who's been on TV. And if, you know, we bring 100 people here and they spend £1,000 each, that's £100,000 of tourist money back into the country. And another important thing about motorsports is how it can improve the brand perception of companies that go onto race cars. So if you think of Red Bull, they've done an amazing job in improving their brand perception. And you think of buzzwords like, you know, excitement, Formula One racing, famous racing drivers. And if we can associate El Salvador with exciting motorsports rather than gang crime and all the false negative things that are said on a daily basis, we can make a massive improvement.
Absolutely, and that's something very interesting that you mentioned, because it is true. If you look back 10 years ago and you'd see El Salvador on the news, what would you look at what would you hear about? Always negativity. And now El Salvador is on the rise on a very positive note. We have Bitcoin, we have tourism, we have a nation that's in some way or another, challenging the global agenda, you could say. And it's very important, not only for people in the inside to be aware of what's happening, but people in the outside. And that is why I believe that Bitcoin racing would be good to promote a further positive image. Because as you mentioned, Motorsports has millions of viewers, millions. And not only can you facilitate the promotion of Bitcoin itself, also the promotion of the first nation in the world to accept it as legal tender, which is El Salvador. And that's absolutely a great thing, convenient for all.
I think, I'll add in as well, we've got Jorge in the room, who is a Salvadorian coffee producer. And one of the other things we'd like to do is hand out samples to the spectators at the races of Salvadorian coffees. And that way we can increase sale of Salvadorian commodities. And within those promotional materials we hand out, we can give instructions on how to buy coffee through the Lightning Network, direct from his farm through the Lightning Network without any intermediary. And that's something we're excited about as well. So, if just 10% of the 400,000 people in the audience at the races throughout the year were to order some coffee from the country, that's hundreds, thousands of more pounds that come into the economy. And we can also, we're actually hoping to work with the Department of Tourism. And when we came here last time, we met the Minister of Tourism, and they requested a partnership proposal from us. So it could be the case that actually El Salvador supports taking this team to the next level. And we can also hand out promotional materials that present the country and its tourism opportunities in a positive light as well. So those are the exciting ways. And of course, the driver, again, encouraging people to come here. I think we can bring in hundreds of thousands of pounds in tourism money, purchases of commodities and things like that.
And as Charlie's mentioned, the coffee, we like to see. We'd like to see our racing platform as an opportunity for other business cooperation as well. And hopefully, if people like our ideas, the idea of supporting Bitcoin, supporting El Salvador, please come on the journey with us. We'd love that. I'd love to have people in partnership with us. We think it could be good commercially for a number of companies because of the exposure they will get. And as Herbert has said, traveling around as we have now, this is our second visit, we've spoken to lots of people, ordinary El Salvadorans, people working in various disciplines, working on the street, working in hotels, taxi drivers. Without exception, they seem to be fully supportive of Nayib Bukele. And we think he's done a fantastic job. He's made the country safe where it wasn't before. He's given the country Bitcoin, and we like what we see in terms of what's happening in this country. You have a politician who is actually doing something useful for the people. Some of you from other countries, I imagine, will find that a bit of a novelty, as we certainly do in the UK. A politician doing something useful for the people, almost unheard of. But it's happening here. And we genuinely see the country of El Salvador as being on an upward slope, and other countries, the UK certainly, possibly the States, going the other direction. So we're very honoured to now be part of that and to assist in any way we can with the promotion of the country, the promotion of tourism and the promotion of telling a true story, not the rubbish you hear in the mainstream media, absolute, utter rubbish. El Salvador's dangerous. This is changed. it's different now, and it's most important that people understand that. So hopefully some of you will agree with the message we're trying to deliver, and will support us in that. This slide, we've made friends with the owner and the guy who manages one of the race circuits here in El Salvador at Haberly. They very kindly invited us to drive one of their cars in an hour-long race that's a driver change race happening at the circuit on the 27th of November. So if anyone's around, please come down. We've got some stickers that they've kindly said, Bitcoin racing stickers that we can put on the car. And you know, we love to get involved in this country as well. And also, hopefully, to find ways. Our ambition certainly is to find ways to give back to the community here. Herbert has mentioned this, and we can hopefully do it in a number of ways. The possibility of direct donations, if we can attract enough money through sponsorship. And also, we always need race engineers and mechanics. We have people working with us in the UK on apprenticeships and training. And there's absolutely no reason why we couldn't do a similar thing here. Take a project to the schools where we can possibly teach or help in introducing a program that would, you know, show the benefits of working with mechanics or working in motorsport engineering. In addition to the medical aspect that Herbert mentioned, there's also quite a high tech now involved in motorsport. People have to be quite tech savvy in things like data acquisition and telemetry and the running of all of the cars. So there are all manner of opportunities that can bring. So how are we doing for time?
Yeah, I was just going to add to this slide quickly. It's coming here and racing in the country as a team. We can harness our fans again and invite fans to come and watch us in the country. So we bring our special driver here and tell his followers we're going to be racing in the country, come and watch. And it brings in more people again. And we hope to encourage, you know, more motorsport championships to actually consider El Salvador as a good place to bring these championships, because with motorsports it brings in hundreds of millions of pounds. Like they just spend silly money on race cars, as your Bitcoin wallet knows. Yeah, on to you, Herbert.
Yeah. If you don't mind me mentioning again, there's a mystery driver in Bitcoin racing, right, who's about to get very popular from what I've heard. This driver apparently is going on the global stage. He's going to be recognized on a global level. And curious enough, he's of Salvadoran heritage, which is very interesting because the way that I contacted Bitcoin racing, that I was interested at first when I didn't know about them too much, was that, well, we live in a small world, right? And I met this lady who told me, I have a grandson. He races in the UK on a semi-professional level, about to. And one thing led to another, and here we are now at adopting BTC in El Salvador, you know. And I truly believe that having a Salvadoran on the world stage, racing, something very exciting, something that millions of people all over the world enjoy watching, representing El Salvador, representing Bitcoin, it's a dream come true, you know, because as a Salvadoran, I already mentioned it before, and I will say it again because it's worth noting, that I had never imagined that El Salvador would get to the point where it's at right now. We're truly blessed to be experiencing this period of regeneration and prosperity and fixing our nation, you know, because we used to have high crime. Now we barely see crime anymore. And that truly is a blessing for any nation, because you see many first world nations that are still struggling with these kind of things. And here you have El Salvador, a small country in Central America that's giving a great example. And I couldn't be prouder to have the team of Bitcoin Racing representing El Salvador. So it's truly an honor that you, in the first place, even decided to contact the El Salvador embassy when you found out that Bitcoin was legal tender here in El Salvador. It's a great thing that you're doing. Seriously, give a round of applause to these guys, please.
Is this working? Yes, it is.
So I know historically El Salvador actually has a rich racing history domestically, right? There used to be a circuit here that was pretty active in the 70s, I think, that...
It's called El Jabalí. It's still active, yeah.
Okay. So how do you see that kind of expanding and maybe growing with the benefit of what you're doing? Is that what you were talking about here with the...
Yes, absolutely. And you're quite right. The circuit, as we understand it, was designed by the France family, very famous in NASCAR. Yeah, we visited the circuit. It needs updating. It needs money. But if attention can be brought to it, you know, hopefully those things might come.
More?
Just curious what the top speed of the Mini is, especially at Silverstone, down like Hanger Straight or something like that.
It's about 270 horsepower. It's a proper little racing car. It's got a sequential gearbox. They're expensive to buy. If you wanted to build one, you're looking something like $70,000 probably with the kit that they've got on it. Probably 140, 150 down the fast straights on some of the circuits, depending which circuit you're running at, but plenty of power, plenty of power.
I'd just like to add one more thing, if that's okay, sorry. To any potential brands that might like to partner with us, as we've seen historically, when El Salvador has sports personalities like a recent winner of the Roland Garros tennis competition, or the first Salvadorian to climb Mount Everest, the president retweeted that story and shared the updates about what they'd done. So you can imagine a Salvadorian driver promoting his country will be retweeted on a regular basis by the president, and that's what we understand. We're even told by the ambassador that he knows about us. The permission to get the flag on the car had to go up to presidential office, and the ambassador in the UK said he'll also follow the team in due course as well, when we can take this to a serious level, not just small Citroens at 70 horsepower. So your brand can reach 20 million on TV, millions of Bukele's followers, millions of the celebrity drivers' followers. So it's a perfect partnership opportunity for Bitcoin companies to come on board. You know, you'll be with us for a whole year rather than, sponsoring a conference for just 3 days for much better value as well. Not to put down sponsorship of conferences, but 70 hours of TV time, if you were to pay for that individually, it would cost you far more than it costs you to sponsor a car and get your brand on TV that way. So we'd love to speak to any brands who might like to talk about how we can help them. We understand that you'll need a return on investment, and that's what we'll work to bring you. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Give him a round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you.